Hey, good morning, guys. It's Thursday, August 9th, and another day ahead of me, another great day yesterday. Kind of a crazy day. Normally my voice is so hoarse, I apologize. But normally I start my videos off by talking about my plans for today. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know what they ought to share with you right now. I'm really having a challenge trying to figure out how to get into Chicago mileage wise, I guess, along with the semantics of the roads to travel to get there. Haven't been in that city, it's new to me. And then there's a couple of folks that I'd like to talk with, kind of this is how this journey's been and why I don't even know, I have a game plan to some degree, but then I don't. So I want to go back to yesterday a little bit and tell you about a couple of folks I met. So yesterday, early in the day, I walked from Valparaiso, and there was this convenience store called Family Express. And on my site, I told you about a guy named Jim that um, extended himself to me very graciously and in a very humble way. Um, Along with Jim, I met a couple named Candace and Hakeem, and I struck up a conversation with them. And Candace reached out to me as well. I think she works down in Valpo, but she was telling me, Hakeem's around today, and I think I'd love to get together with them. I believe they live up in Gary. I'm trying to touch base with them. They reached out to me late last night, but I was with uh, Leah and Matt and didn't get to respond back with them. So, a couple of things. So I met Candace and Hakeem, and hopefully can try to get a hold of them this morning and figure this out. I'm currently actually back away from Hobart with Leah and Matt, great people, and I'll tell you about them as well here shortly. But also, I definitely want to tell you about Jim as well. So I told you yesterday about this gentleman who kind of overheard me saying I was from Central PA and what I was doing a little bit. And without a question asked, he came over and spoke with me just very briefly and told me where he was from. And I said, hey, what brought you to Indiana? And he said, I stayed here after the Corps, so certainly thank you for his service because I can't thank our service people enough. And he reached out to me with a gesture and I said, can I get a picture with you? He said, no, there's no need. Very humbly, and he just went on his way. And I didn't, to me, that might have been the last time I heard from Jim. Later in the day, and I didn't even fully process, so you're walking and you're talking, and he gets it probably more than anybody. He wrote me this email. We had several emails last night, but I don't know if anybody has gotten what I'm doing more than Jim, and I don't mean that in terms of my message or what I'm caring about. Just the everyday. I've got people that are, they might post to me, they might email me, they might text me, and there's so much going on an everyday basis that I'm literally almost constantly um, talking to folks and trying to say thank you, and I get a message, I want to say I appreciate it, and it's hard sometimes you miss something, and but anyway, he seemed to get him with anything, but his first email to me just kind of blew me away. Again, he didn't have to do it, he just basically said, hey Jim, uh, I kind of read about what it is you're doing and why you're doing it, man. And I just think it's amazing. And one of the things that stuck with me when he met me, he said, what I'm doing is harder than anything he ever had to do with the Corps, which again to me is still so preposterous. But he reiterated that fact again, and I don't know if it was more trying to give me credit, which I'm sure he's doing. I'm not saying he's not, but also a recognition that in the Corps there was this togetherness, this cohesive unit that you always had a brother to rely upon. And he said that things I did, I always had, our servicemen and women there as a team, working with me. You're doing this kind of flying solo, and I did apologize later because I didn't want to minimize his email. I just kind of said, hey, thanks for looking out because again, I'm trying to do so much. And that's when he sent an email back and said, no, man, I totally get what you're doing. I can't imagine how your time is drained. And that's one of the biggest challenges I've faced in this journey is as much as I think I've got hours every day, I'd never seem to. Anyway, but enough about me. So Jim Somebody I'm reaching out to today, he's been very helpful, kind of helped me try to get some direction where I'm going, trying to say, hey, this is an area you just might want to be careful of. This area here, might be a better route for you, something like that. And then hopefully before I leave here this morning, um, I'll get a hold of Candace and Akeem, and maybe they're a potential family I could meet with, and see how that plays out in terms of an overnight or whatever. So anyway, um, yesterday I shared with you guys in the nighttime that I had met Papa Joe and how that kind of was crazy. Well, in the nighttime when I left you off with my live stream, I was waiting to meet Leah and Matt. Leah, turns out I've met a few pastors now along the way, is a pastor of the Methodist Church here in Hobart. Um, and it was really interesting. And one of the things that I've enjoyed is the diversity I've met on this trip in terms of age, religious beliefs, demographics. It's been a whole varying scale from age and sex and religion and all that stuff. So it was really pretty neat when I met Leah to see that she's much younger than me, certainly, but then again, who isn't these days? And she picked me up, was just so gracious, and took me to her home. Her husband Matt was cooking dinner, and I got to meet them. Matt, very cool, interesting guy, is a fellow Long Islander. He grew up in Syosset, and interesting just watching these two, because I think they're so different in so many ways. First of all, Leah is new to the church here, the Methodist Church in Hobart, as their pastor. She's only been there a short time, and we talked about some of the obvious potential challenges. One is, a lot of religion has to do with relating to people, and a lot of people, I would think, would have found it difficult to, or would find it difficult. Good Lord, I'm sorry, guys, to relate to somebody younger, especially about deeper issues. Kind of like, what do you know? You haven't, lived through the Depression kind of thing. I've heard in different forms of my life, but one of the things that Leah said that kind of was interesting is because she's younger, even though in her training and her learning up to this point, she's actually specialized in working with some of the older groups in the senior groups at hospitals, as a hospital chaplain and things like that. But because she's younger, people automatically assume, well, you're going to bring all the young kids into the church and you're not turning them around, but bring in a whole different demographic. And, kind of like, well, maybe that's a little bit of pressure now because she's never, kind of gravitated towards the young. It's always been her niche has been the older group. So, but people just assume, and that's kind of a neat thing. So there's that aspect of it. And then Pastor Leah grew up in Pittsburgh, and met Matt, I believe it's at Allegheny University. And that's kind of a neat story, in that how, neither of them had known for a while they would be going there. Matt went there because he was able to, he found out that there was something available to him that enabled it to happen. So he, in the last minute, went there. And Leah didn't, decide to apply or get there until, a week before deadline. So somehow these two found each other at orientation, and just a couple months later they were dating, and here they are married and together 7-8 years. Both, the thing that struck me in having a conversation with them, both are brilliant, and when you're around brilliant people, it just comes out. I mean, I'm not saying talk down at you kind of brilliant, smart, just brilliant folks, and that's a neat thing. So, but then the other challenge with Leah is she's new to town, and one of the things I experienced in central Pennsylvania when I moved out there in 1995 is I came from New York, and New York has this reputation of being, cold and rude and things like that. And then you have these small town America has these reputations of being warm, and everybody knows your name and everybody knows everybody in town. Well, when I moved to Reading, Pennsylvania in 95, got engaged and moved out here. And one of the things she had asked me was like, what's it like out there? When I came to realize pretty quickly was the following, that in New York, you're trusted until you give somebody a reason not to trust you. Out in, at least in central PA, you weren't trusted until you gave them a reason to trust you. in which case, let's get a text, I think, from Jim. But anyway, it's a different kind of thing. It's almost like your people kind of looking on your side of their eye, waiting for you to kind of, say something, do something to. And I didn't know if she was experiencing any of that up here in Indiana. And she confessed that to a small degree she is. But it's been pretty welcoming. Excuse me again. So, but in talking to them, and talking to Leah, there was a few things that really jumped out at me. And I'm probably going to run long today, it seems like, so I'll just tell you that ahead of time so you can prepare. Leah didn't go to school for initially to get into seminary and theology. She was going as a psych major. And I give young people credit with this because I didn't have this ability, and I kind of confessed that last night. And I see it in Grace, a 16-year-old. And I talked about my friend Wayne way back in my YouTube videos, if you guys have been with me since the start. She was going to college for psychology, and I don't want to say just going through the motions, but there wasn't that excitement in the heart that starts to kind of pound faster and get you kind of motivated. It wasn't a passion. And at a young age, she realized that this is really what I want to do with the rest of my life. And whereas I'm the kind of person in my young age, not now, but my younger age, I would have just done it and then looked back with the eyes open and go, wow, this is not what I really want to do. But she had the foresight to see that it was not what she wanted to do. And she had been encouraged. She had always been involved in her church. But one of the things is that she grew up in a fundamentalist church and upbringing. And in that upbringing, I'm not speaking from firsthand knowledge because I'm the last person in the world to be able to talk about this stuff intelligently. I'm trying to reiterate what I was told as best I can. But in the fundamentalist church, it's the male is kind of the dominant figure, and to some degree, I don't want to say females are kind of, let's just say, the best way to say it politely is that maybe females are what's the word I'm looking for? Not less significant by any means, but maybe less authoritative, less decisive. That it's the man that's looked to make the decisions and be the leader and do a lot of things like that. And so she grew up kind of believing this mentality. So when she was encouraged to kind of get into the seminary or anything involved in church, she just, instead of stepping up to the top level, just try to see how she can fit in on a more submissive level, maybe is the term I'm looking for. Not the dominant level, but she was encouraged. She found a mentor that kept kind of getting her to see the light, and she found her passion, and she went back to school for this, and she ended up going to Indianapolis to a Christian seminary school in Indianapolis, and she's found her calling, and it's amazing to think that a young person could have that foresight to kind of say, hey, you know what, I see the road kind of forking in front of me, and I'm going to take the right one for me. And I see that way there, well, it would get me where I got to go. It's probably not going to light my fire. And I just think it's amazing to have that insight at such a young age, because again, I'm pointing the thumb at myself. I surely did not. So that was one of the things that struck me, was how she had a certain encouragement from somebody that helped push her, even when she didn't. Not that she didn't think she could. She didn't think it was her place to do that, I guess would probably be the best way I could say it. So, and then Matt is a brilliant guy, in talking to him. But he also has kind of had situations like that where he's been working in places that just didn't feel right to him. And as a result, he's moved to positions that may not pay as much, may not be as glorious, but it's making him happy, and it can't be enough said for that. I'm running out of time here on this video, so I'm going to kind of shut this down, part 1, and come back with part 2 here in a little bit, okay? Thanks, guys.